Nigeria is 60 years, 30 years as an independent nation, and a lot of discussions have been going on, and they are focused on challenges and the way forward. And within it, as much as we have challenges, the indivisibility of Nigeria remains sacrosanct. So what we are getting is, as much as we had challenges, although we have had a back-to-back sustained democracy over time, despite years of military interregnum. Also within this period, the 75th United Nations General Assembly is on, and President Muhammadu Buhari, in his address, centered on global issues ranging from human rights, global poverty eradication, gender, recharging of the lake Chad, and indeed, it challenged the United Nations on global response to COVID-19, and that if much is not done, a lot of issues will arise. Also within this period, the Association of Retired Career Ambassadors of Nigeria put up a conference which cuts across looking at where Nigeria is in terms of its diplomacy relations with other parts of the world. Those are the issues that we shall be looking at on Diplomatic Ties today. And my guest is former Permanent Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Director General of the Brace Commission in Nigeria, and a member of the Retired Career Ambassadors of Nigeria, Ambassador Joe Keshi. The program continues just after this time out. Stay with us. Let's look at Retired Career Ambassador putting up a program at this time. What informed this?
We knew the 60th independence anniversary was coming. We also felt that we have engaged ourselves in a number of issues over the last few years, but we thought this time we needed to encourage public discussion, reflecting on the last 60 years and looking into the future, and see where we should, the direction that we should be, going into. And as a result, we also, but principally, we also wanted people to understand how domestic issues or domestic distractions, affect foreign policy. So we thought that we put together an area of speakers to look at a number of issues, principally development, nation building or nationhood, leadership, and also the issue of diversity. And when you put all together, these are actually the issues, or on a broad sense, that we are confronted with. And all we are trying to do is to, contribute to ongoing debates here and there about the direction that the country should be going to as we clock 60s.
As much as we know we had teething problems growing as a nation, we hit 25, we hit 50, and now we are hitting 60. Let's look at, as a career diplomat, you've been there, you saw it, where that's true, pulled out, yet still very active. Now, and I know very well that somebody at your level is like a resource base, an invaluable resource base for the country. Moving forward, diplomacy-wise, foreign policy, where should we be heading? As much as we're not trying to say these were the problems. Moving forward.
Look, you can't move forward in terms of where you want to be diplomatically or in terms of your foreign policy until you address the issues that hinders the execution of your foreign policy. Some will tell you, and it is true, foreign policy is an extension of domestic policy. In other words, domestic policy in so many ways affect foreign policy. It affects your ability to execute your foreign. You can have a well-defined foreign policy as we do today, but your ability to execute that foreign policy will depend on domestic policy, domestic issues, and so on. So if you have, for example, a booming economy, a productive economy, if you have a very strong, military behind you, if you have cohesion, in the country, not necessarily consensus, but cohesion in the country, and as I said, particularly an economy that is booming, you feel that confidence to go into the world. You can be assertive. You can insist on your views being heard and the rest of it. But the most important thing, because of who you are, because of the strength that you project within the international community, they respect you and they listen to you. Remember, there was a time in this country that Nigeria, particularly in terms of African issues, there was a time in this country, I mean, yeah, in our lifetime, you know, that we were consistently consulted. Nobody takes a decision about the continent without consulting.
Has that changed?
Well, to a large extent, it really has changed, but also some of the issues that we were dealing with then has changed. So, on a balance, in the first couple of years, maybe till the 90s, we did relatively well because we framed the issues in such a way that it enabled us to be part and parcel of resolving a number of issues around the continent, because we also tied it to our development. You understand? You know, given our size, given even our economy at that time, so we were able to be engaged and to engage the world on issues that pertain to us and issues, again, that pertain to the rest of the continent. At that time, we were growing. Our economy was good. Our industries were expanding. Education was good. There were times, you know, Ibadan and the teaching hospital, they're one of the best in the Commonwealth. So people, as I said earlier, had so much hope and expectation of this country. But we did well in those days. And to a relative extent, I think we are still struggling. But the point I keep making is that at 60, we can still be struggling. People expected, I mean, the life of a nation is different from the life of an individual. But when you look at a number of other countries that you can describe as our, not necessarily our peers, I mean, you can't really, if you do a comparative analysis, for example, with Singapore, at the time we gained independence, and you look at where Singapore is today, or Malaysia, or Indonesia, and some other countries, Korea, Taiwan, you just see that. So today, we actually need to be on auto drive in order to, you know, move from the third world, you know, to the first world.
So if just in one sentence, so moving on, like I said earlier, what should be done?
A number of things should be, well, look, a number of things should be done. Number one is leadership. You know, the perception of your leader is very important. When people, but again, a leader cannot do so much without a base. It's like a general going to war, he hasn't gotten the substance, the materials to persecute a war to a successful end. So, first thing first is that we need to resolve the issue of leadership. We need to address the issue of our diversity in this country. But for me, we actually need to do more to change the trajectory of our economic development. We need to become more productive. When you become more productive, you get richer. Your naira becomes stronger. Our naira is not weak simply because we are not selling at the international market. Our naira is weak simply because we are not productive. Pure and simple. Never mind whatever anybody says. That is why, you know, so we need, once we resolve all these problems, it enables the country to project itself stronger, assertive, and could be a strong player in the international community.
Nigeria just served its term as the president of the 74th United Nations General Assembly. Yep. Nigeria is the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. Yep. So many organizations I cannot remember now. And Nigeria
we just made it back to ADB.
Nigeria is inching towards becoming, or being well, the Director General of the World Trade Organization.
Hopefully we pray.
So despite all this, we still have presence. So consolidating it And then a couple of policies have been put in place to consolidate all that. But let's look at diplomacy, foreign policy. And a lot of people will say Nigeria is Afrocentric. Today we hear United Nations talk about United Nations first. Can we rejig it in terms of foreign policy?
No, look, we have to be Afrocentric for so many reasons. Number one, we're in Africa, we're in this continent. You know, we can't defend somebody, I mean, we can't be part of Europe, nor can we be part of the Americas. So we have to be Afrocentric, you know, in the first place. In the second place is that our strength is as a result of so many things, including, by the way, our population. Okay? So that gives us that ability to speak for the continent itself. And of course, if we project ourselves as the leader of the continent, we're already doing well. At least we have the largest economy, but we need to consolidate that going forward. You know, the point I'm trying to make is that it's not that we've not done well in the last couple of years vis-a-vis, you know, our diplomacy, but we need to do more in order to be able to regain and maintain, you know, that level where we were a couple of years ago. Okay. You know, and starting from home, Gambari, I think, once, you know, proposed a concentric circle, which makes sense, by the way. And within that concentric circle, actually, when you begin to look at, you know, ECOWAS, in a way, you also see our own failure. Look, we made the largest contribution to ECOWAS. You know, we were instrumental in the creation of ECOWAS. But when you look deep, ECOWAS is over 40 years. I mean, I remember that I was in Lomé when this was happening, and I think I attended the very first meeting of the ECOWAS fund. Okay? Beyond the issue of free movement of goods and persons, which has a problem today. See what they are doing to Nigerians in Ghana, and we Nigerians have also closed our border. What else is going on in ECOWAS? But when you look at the European Union that we try to emulate or copy, there's been a lot in terms of integration. And that's exactly what we need to do. And some of us feel that ECOWAS would have done better if we had really focused on making it better. You can't be paying so much money and not paying attention to what is going on in an organization like ECOWAS, for example. Now, this is part of where we have some drawbacks. And our hope in the association is that we can actually, you know, discuss more with government often about some of these issues that you're raising. Okay. You know.
Let's look at the African Union. And Nigeria's president is the champion of anti-corruption in Africa, and he just served his term as ECOWAS chairman. And looking at AU, Nigeria, foreign policy, are you seeing we're playing well?
Not as we used to be before. Obviously, as I said, for so many reasons. Number one, you know, the issues have changed. In the 60s and up to the 70s, there were a common issue that brought us all together: decolonization of African states and decolonization of the continent. Collectively, we have achieved that. And Nigeria, nobody can deny Nigeria the role Nigeria played in decolonizing this continent, particularly Southern Africa. We played a credible role. The world recognized that. They consulted. We did very well in that. There's no doubt about that. Over time, the issues have now changed. There are new issues, you know, that we are dealing with. There's the issue of economic development, for example, which is actually the major issue, you know, focusing, and human development, you know, that we now have to. And you remember a few years ago, you know, when 4 or 5 African countries became the arrowheads of, oh God, it's escaped me, you know, Obasanjo, the man in Algeria, Mbeki, and I think, you know, they came together to put up a program of African development. And they for about 4 or 5 years, they pushed, this today. It has an agency, it has a branch in Nigeria, the presidency. I'm just trying to know, but I'm sure it will
the
come back.
African Leadership Forum?
No, not the Leadership Forum.
We'll get to that.
It's interesting, I forgot that. Yeah. Now, that's the way to go, Now, the AU had taken over that organization to manage it. But, sometimes you can't but feel that both the AU and to a large extent the ECOWAS, that they've spent the last decades after decolonization, dealing with political issues, resolving crises and conflicts. These are okay, these are good and so on. But the issue of development, it's something that we also need to begin to take seriously and find a way. Because at the end of the day, it is part of what will guarantee peace and security in the continent. And if you look at what's going on around the country today, you could also see that part of the insecurity has to do with the insecurity of life itself, the lack of progress, the anger of some people that they are not actually, doing well, the lack of opportunities. There's a report or a series of reports that was just done on the Niger Delta.
Okay.
And, the researchers did a fantastic job of looking at the nature of insecurity in the region. And it's amazing. One thread I ran through the whole report was the lack of opportunities for the young people, for the youths. So if you are growing up, you've gone to school, whether you've gone to primary school or you've gone to secondary school or you've gone to university, and you get out of any of this, and for so many years you have no jobs. The economy of the states are not opening up, no opportunities. And then somebody comes to you that, look, if we begin to do armed robbery, we'll make some money. You will get involved, you will get some money. Or somebody said to you, I hear that those kidnappers in one other place, when they kidnap people, they pay so much. Honestly, if you have no means of surviving and you think that, look, okay, let me go and do that. But again, I just want to make the point that, yeah, we can do everything we can to strengthen the police, the military, and everybody. But we must also create opportunities that would encourage people not to think of becoming criminals. Nobody was born criminals. But environment, society, invariably makes you a criminal at the end of the day.
Okay. How do you encapsulate this? President Muhammadu Buhari just addressed the United Nations General Assembly at its 75th session, and he trumped up a couple of issues. From the global perspective, he raised concerns of safety of schools Nigeria is working on. He raised concerns of recharging of the Lake Chad Basin. He raised concerns of climate change. He talked about gender issues, humanitarian issues, a host of issues I cannot remember totally all, but above all, he commended the Global Alliance on Poverty Eradication put in place by the United Nations. UN, Nigeria, and issues trumped up. How do you encapsulate it within the ambit of 60 years of Nigeria's independence?
No, well, look, we've been a key player. We believe in the United Nations as an avenue for nations to resolve their problems. We've participated very effectively in almost all UN activities, and the UN has actually been involved in our own affairs as well. And I think the President raised all the questions, all the issues that it's relevant to Nigeria, which is very commendable. And I just think that the United Nations at 75, there are debates, ongoing debates about the future of the United Nations. But I am confident that because of the many issues of the world that it is dealing with, that the United Nations itself would survive. And the issues that the President has raised part of all, or part of the issues that the UN is dealing with, in so many ways, whether human rights, whether sustainability. But I think that the greatest thing the United Nations has done in the last 50 years, apart from the issues of peace and so on, was the development agenda that it launched a few years ago. The Millennium Development Goal that has now shifted to SDGs and so on. Now, if governments, particularly in developing countries, domesticate those issues, the SDG issues, and really work on them, look, it's not just a question of the success of the UN, it also has to be part of our own success in this country. And that is the way to go. So the president raised all the right issues, and the next thing is for us all to see how we can, focus on developing these issues. And it has now become urgent against the backdrop of COVID-19 that has, in so many ways, virtually wrecked global economy. So we need to figure out new ways of doing things and ensure that, again, I make the point that tremendous amount of opportunities are created, in every country of the world, so that we can all grow in peace and stability. As long as no one power tries to dominate the other, as long as every country develops at its own pace, I'm very confident that both United Nations and the rest of the world we certainly will continue to do well and to gradually develop.
Let's, as we are rounding off now, 60 years on as a country, I still hinge on that 60 years is no mean feat.
You can say that again.
Yeah, where are we regarding global competitiveness, multilateralism? Are we catching up?
Yeah, we are solidly involved. We are very much involved. We participate in all the global discussions, and But I think the question is, what are we bringing to the table? Again, a couple of years ago, we brought a lot to the table, and I make the point that we brought these issues because at that time, these were the issues of interest and of that were relevant, to us getting out of colonization. Today, the issues of relevance to us, which we should be driving in every fora, is the issues of development of our people and of our nations. And we should be asking for we should be asking for fairness from the international community. As we speak today, to a large extent, the trading pattern is still screwed against us. The way and manner loans are given to us, it's still they still attach conditionalities to it. These are things that we need to find a way to resolve. But the ability and the ability to do that depends to a large extent on us, Nigerians, but also building partnership with the rest of, particularly the African nations that are involved, to form a common front to address these issues as we did in the 60s when we were fighting colonialism.
One will say, as much as we have teething problems, the indivisibility of Nigeria remains sacrosanct. So what word of shut up, firm up will you give to Nigerians as we march on to the 65th year as an independent country, in conclusion?
In conclusion, I'll just say to Nigerians, look, this is a beautiful country. This is a very lovely country. And God did not make a mistake when He placed each and every one of us in this country. What we just have to do is to find an acceptable way of managing ourselves. Be fair to one another. Be just to one another. Be equitable. Once you do that, and you open up the space for opportunities. Once you do that, believe me, look, never mind the agitation. The agitations for separation and this and that. Sometimes I don't think that even those who are making that those agitations or that agitation that deep inside they want this country to be broken. No, they are just using it as a platform to draw attention to the injustice in the system. Beyond that, I think everybody that I know that we've spoken, I mean that I know around this country, we are all proud to be Nigerians. And at 60, I'm sure that we all have, cause to celebrate as if we ourselves have lost 60. I've seen a lot in this country in 60 years, but I've also seen tremendous amount of things that continue to give me hope.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Joe Keshi. It was nice talking with you on Diplomatic Ties.
As always, thank you so much for having me.
Well, in some parlance, they will say, stay the course. As much as the challenges are there, faith and belief and faith in the system will take us there. Nigeria is marching on as an independent country, 60 years on and moving on. There is hope. And like my guest said, Nigeria is a beautiful place to be. There's no place like home rather than home. Thanks for being there. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.